morning. I'm Mahmoud S, Global Librarian at Librarian, and today I'm here to talk to you about RFID Technology in libraries. But at first, let me thank Mr. Dominican for his kind invitation. He's the speaker of the meeting today. And also I'd like to thank the Dominican Institute for coming and hosting today. Actually, before starting my presentation, I'd like to tell you about my story with RFID. Actually, I'm interested in RFID 5 years ago, from 2007. In 2007, I was recommended by German University in Cairo and Goethe Institute and BI International to visit some libraries in Germany, in Stuttgart, and Ulm and some other libraries to study about new technologies, new procedures in German libraries. And the main goal of this visit to try to transfer these new technologies and new procedures in German libraries to Egyptian libraries. In this visit, in 2000 visit, it was my first meeting with RFID. I saw RFID in the first time. I was very interested with this technology and its applications in the library. And in 2009, I got another scholarship to visit libraries in Munich and Augsburg to study everything about RFID. And then in 2011, I got another scholarship to visit libraries in Frankfurt and Amsterdam to know everything about RFID for my master. In 2011 also, I visited some libraries in United Arab Emirates, in Sharjah and Dubai. And all this visit was to know and study everything about RFID, like components, how it works, the problems, applications in libraries, and so on. And during this visit, I visited some libraries such as Public Library, Goethe Frankfurt, and Munich City Library. And also, I visited libraries in Arab region, like American University of Sharjah and American University in Cairo, because they are using RFID. I got some practical training about RFID, how to use this technology, how to convert from barcode to RFID, and some other details about this new technology. Also, I met some experts in RFID, and I was lucky to meet Mr. Abdou, who is IT manager at the National Library in Frankfurt, because I wanted to meet someone to give me some information, details, solution, how to apply RFID in Egypt, in the Egyptian libraries. Because today, in 2012, we have just 2 libraries in Egypt using RFID. And in April 2010, I registered for my master degree in library information science about RFID technology and its applications in libraries. Actually, in the last years, I did some events about RFID also. I shared in a symposium in Cairo University about RFID and its applications in the library. And also I shared in the last conference of ELA, Egyptian Library Association, about RFID and its applications in the library. And in 2011, I established a website about RFID in Arabic to let my colleagues in Egypt know about this new technology and its applications in the library. Actually, I divided my presentation to 5 main points. As a first, I will talk about what is RFID, what it means. And I will talk about history and background of the technology, and then I will talk about RFID applications as a general view. Because RFID is not only in libraries, RFID is everything around us. So I will talk about that. And I will talk about RFID in libraries, in our career. I will talk about its history, briefly, and its applications. And finally, I will talk about RFID in the Egyptian libraries, the status of RFID in our Egyptian libraries, and then I will talk about the problems and my recommended solution to apply RFID knowledge to libraries. As first, RFID, I'll talk about definition and components, and finally, how RFID works. Actually, the application of RFID is radio frequency identification. Radio frequency identification. It means that RFID technology is a technology which is based on radio frequency to identify or track any object. But this object should to have a small electronic chip called RFID tag. So RFID, if any object has this tag, it can track this object wirelessly. In our career, RFID is a developed and upcoming system after barcode. Now in libraries we're all using barcodes, and then with more capacity, more large capacities, we use two-dimensional barcode. And then the libraries need to make a kind of set collections. They are using EM, electromagnetic strips. And finally now libraries using RFID, which has functions of barcode plus electromagnetic strips. Actually, any RFID system consists of three components. The first is called RFID tags. And this tags has a lot of forms. I will talk about the tag we're using in libraries. The tag in library has two forms. This one is called standard tags. This is for printed materials, for books and serials and any printed item in the library. Each tag contains two components. The first is antenna, as you can see, the brown antenna, and this small chip, this black small chip. Here you can see the presentation. This chip holds all information about the book, and antenna sending this information to the second component, the reader. And this reader receives the information from the chip, from the tag, in radio waves to convert this information to digital information to our database, the certain components. How it works, how RFID works. Actually, let's imagine that we have here this a reader device, RFID reader, and this box contains the tag, attached to the tag. This reader here has electromagnetic field around. When the tag passes from this electromagnetic field of the reader, the chip inside the tag wakes up and sends information inside to the reader. And the reader receives this information and converts it from radio waves to digital information to be recognized by the database. Actually, when we talk about RFID, especially in Egypt, we thought that it is a new technology. But if you search in the historical resources, you will find surprise. You will discover that RFID technology is not a new technology, it's very old. RFID technology is back to the World War II. It was using in military services. First use to RFID was by Britain. During the war, there was a problem for Britain and Germany and so on. There is no way to identify the coming planes if it belonged, these planes belonged to Britain or the enemy. In 1990s, the British developed an identifier system called IFF, Identify, Friend or Foe. This system is based on a transmitter, the same concept of the tag. This transmitter, they put this transmitter on the British plane. and this plane come near to the radar, we receive signals from the plane to identify that this plane belongs to Britain, not belong to the enemy. From 1990 to 1960, a lot of researchers around to study how can we use this concept of RFID in our life. 1937, it was the first RFID patient for American dollar in USA, and from this time, a lot of sectors around, in supermarkets, in hospitals, a lot of applications for RFID, starting to use RFID to identify objects wirelessly. And now we'll talk about some applications of RFID as a general view. And here we can see a lot of applications of RFID. Now today they are using RFID in airports, in farming, in libraries, security, in healthcare, in hospitals, in sports, manufacturing, military, a lot of uses today for RFID. And we'll talk about the most common uses for RFID today. In USA, they are using RFID in passports, and now national ID in USA issued by RFID. Also in driver licenses, they are using RFID. In sports, we can see here this red tag and shows the runner for more accurate to calculate how many number of legs, start and end of the marathon and so on. Also, in car parking, they are using this kind of tags. Besides this, we have tags besides one in the car. When you come into the gate, it opens automatically and so on. For animals, to review the medical history of the animal, to avoid violence by animals and so on. In human, RFID in human. Actually, a lot of objections about injection people with RFID. But let's talk about the history of RFID in human. It was by Kevin White, a professor in England. He implemented his hand with RFID. You see that the tag here, but it is very big. He injected himself with this tag. You can see. No. Actually, it was a very strange idea for someone to inject himself with this kind of tag. Very strange. But it is very old. In 1989, Kevin White injected himself with this tag to control doors, lights, computers, and everything. In 2004, a lot of people around the world injected themselves with this tag. As you can see here,
are they still alive or not?
Yeah, yes. We can see this young man, Ahmed Raftra, in 2005, he implemented RFID chip in his hand. As you can see here in this photo, before injecting himself. Sorry. And when they asked Ahmed, why did you do that? Why did you inject yourself with this chip? He said, when I open my front door, I don't need a key. When I log into my computer, I don't touch my keyboard. When I start my notebook, no keys needed. And instead of keys, I just wave my hands. It was very strange. And here you can see, in the first photo, he is adjusting here the tag. After injecting the tag in his hand, and besides the door locker, he just put all passwords and any information on the chip, and then in the other photo, he opens the door with no key. Very strange. Another application for RFID in California, in parks, they are using a kind of tags. It's called wristband tags for children, because it's easy to find lost children and trace children in this park and so on. Also in hospitals, they are using wristband also for patients to review the medical history of any patient, to to locate the doctors and nurses in the hospitals and so on. Also, in the other program, they are using RFID to protect newborns from robbery accidents or something like that. In Los Angeles, they are using RFID to track prisoners. It's very useful. Finally, in Dominican, because in this event, a lot of people lost, and with RFID, it will be easy to find these people. And now we'll talk about RFID outcome. We'll talk about RFID in libraries. I'll talk about the history briefly, and RFID or barcode, and finally, I'll talk about RFID in libraries applications. When we talk about RFID in libraries, experts in RFID refers that the first use of RFID back to mid-1990, and then from mid-1990 to 2005, there was around 300 libraries using RFID, and the number is increasing. In 2007, 600 libraries, and in 2009, 1,500 libraries around the world. And about the first national library was National Library of Singapore. The first public library was in Netherlands. The first academic library was in Hong Kong, and first library in Arab region was United Arab Emirates, the Library of Cultural Center in Ras Al Khaimah. And then applications for RFID in libraries. And we should say that the applications of RFID in Australian libraries is the largest in the world. You can see this chart, the applications of RFID in Australia, and you can see the third column, the top of RFID in libraries. And now, as a library manager or decision maker in the library, and I'm planning to use RFID, I should decide why I need to use RFID, or a barcode is enough for me. Actually, it's simple comparison between barcode and RFID. Actually, there is a lot of difference between RFID and barcode, but I will talk about the most important points. The first point is line of sight. Line of sight means we can see this line, and we're all dealing with barcode, and we know that to read this barcode item, I need to make a scanner in front of the book to read this book. But in RFID, it's completely different. You may read a lot of books just by putting them on RFID reader, as you can see in the photo. The other difference is you need to read each book one by one. You read this one, and read this one, and so on. But in RFID it's different. You can read up to 10 books once. Just put 10 books on the reader, it's all on the screen in front of you. In barcode, you write the information just one time. You can't edit. But in RFID, the chip that we talk about, it's rewritable. You can write the information and rewrite the information a lot of times. Barcode doesn't support security function, but in RFID, security function is embedded inside the text. At the same day, it's security function. In university libraries and public libraries, there are circulation daily for the same item. By the time this barcode is disappeared. But in RFID, because the RFID tag was inside the book, it has a longer life. We'll talk about the applications of RFID in the library. First application to use RFID in managing my collection inside the library. How can I use RFID to manage my collections? Actually, we can use RFID to do three functions of the library. The first is inventory. The second, to find items between the shelves. And third, shelf management, to make books in the right classification. This device is called handheld reader. This white device in the photo. It's handheld reader. Using this the same device, we can do a lot of functions like inventory, find items, and shelf management. It's easy to use, it's fast, it's saving the time of Louise in the library. And this video is, as you can see, it's very easy to make an inventory. It's very easy to find a book. You just write the classification number on the device and moving between the shelves and you find book easily. You can do inventory for library with 100,000 items within 1 to 3 days maximum. As you can in Egypt, it will take weeks. To save my collection, to detect my collection in the library, we use this case with alarm system compatible with this tag. If the user gets out from the library without making circulation procedures, this gate will alarm, sound and light alarms to make librarian notice that there's somebody going out without making circulation procedures. Self-circulation, actually I think that this application is very important for libraries with much rate of circulation like university and public libraries, because more crowded is circulation based and a lot of people want to borrow books and so on. So using this kind of application is very useful for this kind of libraries. Here in the left photo, users make self-forming for books by themselves. Just all that they need to use their library card to read their information, and then they put in the box and take a receipt with a due date, and that's it. Also, users in the library can return the borrowed item anytime, because this machine working 24/7. And now, after returning books from this window, behind, inside the library, there is a sorter system. The sorter system receives these items, that's the returned items, and sorting these items in each item according to classification number. You can first, for example, you can find the first box, the box for 100 for religions or philosophy and mathematics and so on. It's saving time of the staff to classify this box to a shelving. Statistics is very important for managers to know how many visits for my library today. You can output the statistics hour, day, week, month, year. And finally, we'll talk about RFID in our Egyptian libraries. I'll talk about the status and problems and my recommended solution to apply RFID in the library. The first, we have only 2 libraries using RFID in Egypt: American University in Cairo and Library University. A lot of discussions for other libraries to apply RFID, but until this moment, we just have 2 libraries using this. Sorry?
Maybe do use RFID as well.
Really? Very important.
So it should.
Actually, during my study in my master, I made a survey for librarians to ask them about the most problems that facing them to apply RFID. What is the problem to RFID, to apply RFID in your library? Actually, I find the most common problem is about the cost. Second problem was lack of knowledge about RFID. I asked some people, do you know anything about RFID? They respond, no, what's RFID? I don't know. And a lot of people said, RFID is enough for me, that's okay. And the fourth is a lack of scientific studies on RFID, especially in Arabic. Thousands and thousands of studies about RFID in English, but in Arabic, very little studies about RFID. I recommend the solution. Actually, it's not my idea. I saw this idea in Munich. They are made such a consortium of libraries. They are buying RFID system together to get a discount from RFID supplier. It's working very good in Europe and Germany, and at the moment I'm trying to build like this consortium for Egyptian libraries by looking for libraries which are library interested to use RFID, and then we are putting such a plan to buy RFID to all these libraries together to get RFID with this cost. Actually, this consortium, I'm saying it was a consortium in Egypt because there is a rule for RFID supplier or vendor. If you buy more tags, for example, this tag, if you buy 1,000 tags from the supplier, it will be expensive. If you buy 100,000, the cost will be less. This is a concept.
Other machines itself. Some machines itself.
It's also, if you buy a lot of machines, you get discount. A lot of experts, they are expecting that in the coming days, RFID tags will be, the cost will be get down and so on. As I told you, consortium, the first we'll look for libraries with interest in RFID, and then we're collecting the library needs of RFID, and we'll buy the components of RFID for all libraries once, and then we'll distribute the cost for each library, and finally each library will get its needs from RFID but with this cost. It's a concept of the consortium. And there's some samples of RFID consortiums around, like London Libraries Consortium, they are this RFID, and also in New York. It's a consortium for 54 public libraries buying RFID together, and that's all. And thank you for your attention, and I hope that I gave you
Thank you very much, Mahmoud, for this very interesting session. And now I think we should open the discussion.